wanted to talk about the genuine reality of what you see in the hospital and why I'm so against sending kids there. I understand that if you went to one that's not that bad and you're there for like a week or two, that you wouldn't understand this. But I went to a dozen exactly, and I never stayed for less than 2 weeks, and the longest I stayed was 11 months. Exactly to the day, 11 months. So I saw a lot of things that were not helpful at all. I was deep into self-harm, and I was very easily triggered. So when I got sent to the hospital, I was supposed to be able to be like recovering there, but everywhere I looked, there was someone with fresh cuts up their arm, or someone in the corner who snuck a razor blade in, cutting themselves, or everywhere you looked, there was a trigger. I'm very sensitive to loud sounds, and especially yelling more after like my first couple trips to the hospital. I actually was diagnosed with PTSD afterwards because of the hospital, and there was always yelling and fighting. There was always someone fighting, always. And I will admit, I was a fighter, but I only did it in self-defense. Like, if I could not get someone to just let me live in there, then I would have to physically take it upon myself, because nobody else could do anything. The staff couldn't do anything. But if I physically recorrected them, to put it nicely, then they would leave me alone. So after a while of fighting everyone who took it a little too far with me, people started leaving me alone more. But my first week in there, in residential specifically, I was like in my room, and at school earlier that day, I heard one of the girls talking bad about one of my friends from acute. Her name was Adriana. Love you, Adriana. I don't know if you see these, but like, she was talking bad about that girl I knew. So when I saw her in my unit, like later that day, I ran out of my room. I went up behind her and I choked her with my arm, and I got dragged off of her. And like, after feeling that release of like taking out my anger on someone else, like, I didn't want to stop taking out my anger on other people. I mean, the same girl made fun of me for like getting off on triggering the girls with bulimia by gagging when I was actually drowning myself, and they pulled me out of the shower blue. So there just isn't a moment of peace in these places. You never get a break, and you never get a breath of fresh air. It's tough. I mean, especially Tina, she is a recovery YouTuber for addiction and makes like some jail content. And after watching her videos, like, we have a better food situation there. Not much better, but at least half of it's edible, I guess. It's kind of worse than jail in a way, because like jail, you're not allowed to have your own clothes or blankets or anything. We're allowed to have our own clothes and blankets, but you can be in your room with your roommate like during the day. You can have friends, you can talk to people, you can hug people, you can get close. We weren't allowed to be within 5 feet of each other. We weren't allowed to be in the room with our roommates. We weren't allowed to make friends. If they found out that we were making friends, they would put us on peer step with that person, and we wouldn't be allowed to say a single word to them. And especially as children, that's very damaging, because I spent a year with no form of relationship with anybody. And every single time I did form a relationship, that person left like a minute later. Every single time someone came in, one person would be like, oh, I don't like Gray because of this. And then before they left, they tell all the new people. So by the time that I was the last person in there, I was the only person in there that was there since I got there. Like, everyone else had switched out. So every single person that had come in by the time I left didn't meet me before they heard something bad about me. So nobody would even talk to me in the first place. And they were just straight up mean. I had no support, no friends, no connections, no relationships, nothing. It is literally psychological torture. I'm so against those places, especially for children. Oh my god.